Welcome back, Tributes, to episode 89 of Into the Arena. I'm Holly,
I'm Emily.
and we're back to talk about part two, The Rascal of Sunrise on the Reaping. But before we dive into this, just a few announcements. Like normal, follow us on social media at Into the Arena Podcast, because we are starting back up Mockingjay Mondays, where we discuss two chapters of Sunrise each week live on Instagram. So if you're interested in joining our little book club or coming to talk about it, just come join us. It's going to be so fun every Monday night. And time for us to just break into the most random chatter ever, because what was part two? We need to talk about part two today.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Did you like part one better or part two?
I loved part one. Part
I
one is
loved,
my favorite.
yeah, I liked part one too, but I asked a question that I don't even know the answer to.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So what do you think?
I think by part two, I was like more just into it, like just vibing with it, I guess. Like
Mhm.
you feel more familiar, like with the characters, how the story's going. And I feel like I read part two much faster than I read part one because there was just a lot being thrown at us in part one. So I felt a little bit more composed, but also I cried a lot. I
Yes.
cried a
I want
lot.
to hear about this because I was frantically texting Emily while I was reading part two. I was like, I need to take my time with this because I am having such a hard time reading it. It was just like, we'll get into the hard parts I had, but you were like, I have cried three times. I haven't shed a tear, and we know I'm like the emotional baby over here. So I'm like,
Wow.
what scenes have made you cry? Which have affected you the most?
I'm so surprised by that. Okay, well, I cried once in part one. It wasn't anything big. I don't even remember exactly where it was, somewhere in the middle. It just hit me. I'm reading a Hunger Games book, so that was less about the book itself. We can talk about this first. The first time I cried in part two was when Effie showed up. But it was more like happy tears, you
Okay,
know?
good.
But I was just very excited. I think that was probably my biggest surprise so far because we talked about it on the predictions episode, our bingo card, but it was more, I was just hoping that there would be some character that we could surmise is Effie in the background, but it is legit Effie. At the end of 12, I think it's a big, big, big day.
Yeah.
I just lost it. I almost didn't believe it. I was like, well, maybe it's Tigress, maybe it's not Effie. And then
Mhm.
Effie right on the next page.
And she's Proserpina's big sister, which I think is really interesting.
Hmm.
But yeah, when I read that, I texted you all capitals. I was just like, Effie. Oh my gosh. I I think that was honestly, I agree with you. Besides Plutarch and Mr. Everdeen being friends with Haymitch, I think that was like my biggest shock was that we see a mature Effie, and I love her character. She's very caring.
As opposed to all the other adults that that are
Yeah.
assigned to District 12.
Hmm.
Yeah, it throws off my perception a little bit because it never says in the book, but I always imagined Effie to be a little bit younger, like maybe late 20s or something like that. Like I thought she was kind of up and coming, but no, she's
Hmm.
like, I think I did the math, probably around 45 in the Hunger Games then. So she's a
Yeah.
little bit older than Haymitch, which is just not
Mhm.
what I expected, but it doesn't really change that much.
That was definitely the highlight of part two.
The biggest happy moment of the whole book.
So then what was the third part that you cried at?
Oh gosh, I got a list.
Oh, were
Um,
there more after we
oh yeah,
talked?
I've cried 6 times
Oh my God.
this
I
book
love this for you. I love this for you.
because I texted you. I think this is the most emotional book of the Hunger Games series. You didn't
Mhm.
say anything back, so I was like, oh, I don't know if she agrees. Guess
I
not.
I think it is the most emotional, but I think for right now I'm just dealing with shock. And I think part three is gonna hit me
Mm.
because I've seen everyone posting their reactions to part three. Like, I think it's so funny. Tiffany was like posted her tears on the desk. Like, Haymitch is going through it right
He
now.
really is. He really is. Okay. Then I cried. There was a line before the District 12 tributes all go into their launch room door, and they have a moment where Haymitch
Mhm.
opens his arms. Haymitch does.
Haymitch.
And they all like swoop in, and Lulu comes into the middle, and they hug each other goodbye. And then on the next page, he's in the lunchroom by himself, and Effie walks in. And he was alone in the lunchroom, and Effie's the last person that he sees before going into the arena and says to have a positive attitude. I couldn't.
Yeah, I think that was like a really beautiful moment, and I think I'll go back and be emotional about it. But I was up reading this in the middle of the night, just like trying to
Oh,
like comprehend it. So I need to give it like a second read because that definitely was another part that stuck out to me was that hug and that embrace because the way Katniss describes the relationships between like tributes from the same district is very different than what we're experiencing with Haymitch. It's a very close relationship. And this friendship and this bond they've created is just so beautiful. And I'm just like hurting to see what happens to Maisie. Like we know what happens to Maisie, but do we really know what happens to her? So
yeah.
I think that's going to be the part that really devastates me in part three.
Yeah, we're about to get into part three where I think we're gonna see more of what we thought we saw
Hmm.
in Catching Fire. Mm,
Yeah.
not excited about that.
No. So tell me more about your tears.
Oh gosh, we're just gonna go through my cry list. That's great.
I love this.
The anthem and the bloodbath results. I don't know why I'm so attached to Wyatt, but I really
Mhm.
was. I really was. And
Yeah.
it hits Haymitch how upset he is. Like he didn't
Hmm.
expect it to hurt so bad. And him looking at the results and seeing his District 6 doves and his District 9 chicks and his little flock. Two different districts, I think all of 8 and all of 9 are gone. And then it's Wyatt at the end. Mm-mm.
It's, yeah. And the way that Wyatt dies,
He assumes that it's protecting Lulu.
like Wyatt really stepped up. Like that's
Hmm.
character development right there.
Ugh.
Yeah.
This book just keeps hurting me.
But I'm so okay, like I'm relieved because like you know that person that was going online spreading spoilers? One of
Hmm.
the spoilers was about Wyatt and they were completely wrong about it. So I was relieved that that was not a spoiler that like existed for me. So
Oh, the spoiler that I saw, because I didn't see the whole thing, but I saw the name Beatty. So I
oh,
knew that Beatty was involved in some way,
mhm.
but didn't imagine what way he was involved.
With
It's
Amber,
tragic.
yeah, we'll
Hmm.
get into that. Yeah.
My other part that I cried was Lulu's death, rage
Hmm.
tears. She has like the drugs
Yeah.
that are being pumped into her and he pulls it off of her.
It's just the Lulu part, I think I was texting you, was just so difficult for me to read. It brought me back to Hijacked PETA and Mockingjay.
Mm.
I just think I was so disturbed and so sickened by what they do to Luella and this random child. I think the saddest part is that we don't even know what happens to Lulu's body. Like he talks about like she's probably never going to be buried with her family.
He holds on to her body because he knows it's like the last caring touch that she's ever going to have.
Yeah. Can we talk about Haymitch as a character? Haymitch is so sweet, so pure.
Hmm.
I did not expect this because what we see from the interviews, obviously, is this cocky, stubborn rascal. And that's what we see in Catching Fire. But he is the most genuine, like PETA level genuine I've ever
Yeah.
seen.
He's a lot like PETA, but with some Katniss
Hmm.
thrown in there. I don't know. He's like an
Just,
interesting mix of the
yeah.
two, I think.
I think another part I struggled with was Beatty's relationship with his son Ambert, begging Haymitch, don't let him suffer in the arena, and what ends up happening.
A little unfair of him to have asked and to like put that on Haymitch. I know why he's asking, like he can't be in there in the arena with his son, but he knows that his son is like in there as a punishment for him and that he's
Mhm.
destined for something horrific, unfortunately, tragically.
Yeah, the line, they reeked him to kill him, Haymitch, to punish me. I can think of no realistic scenario in which he does not die. I can only hope that his death is quick and not in vain. Like he's like pleading with Haymitch. He's like, I know that he's doomed. And that is true. It is unfair to put on Haymitch. Haymitch is carrying a lot. I've never seen any of these characters, like from the original trilogy, like Beetee, have such an emotional pull. Like we realize why he's so emotionless come
Hmm.
catching fire. It's just heartbreaking. And his death was just so intense with those stupid squirrels. I swear to God.
Oh my gosh. When I read the squirrels, no, no, no. The carnivorous squirrels. I think that's the worst death in the series.
I think that one's bad. I also think of Masala that like died in the beam that like burns your skin off in Mockingjay.
Yeah, I mean that's
That
bad,
one's
but this
pretty
is
bad.
also this is a
We're
12-year-old
like
child. I mean,
comparing.
not to
Yeah, we're like
compare
comparing.
deaths, but like I think reading this one because it was like a full page and a half,
Yeah, so
and
true.
it's like a 12-year-old kid and the connection with Beatty, and this
Hmm.
kid is so cute. And I mean, like the squirrels ate him alive
I know.
and left
Stop. This
nothing and
this
left
book is
nothing
so messed up.
but his pearly white bones, which
Hmm.
instantly you think about Lucy Gray.
This book
Mm-mm.
is so messed up. Like I started wondering, is this book like I know it's a YA book, but like what age would you allow your child to read this book? Because I read Hunger Games at a really young age. I read it at age 11. I think that I was mature enough to read it. No, I didn't understand everything, but like is this book a little bit intense for young readers? Like I think it obviously depends on maturity level, but I'm having a hard time digesting it personally.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've had episodes where we talked about kind of the age recommendation before. I think I would say, as a general rule, like 12 or 13 and up. Obviously, it depends, like you were saying, but I don't think I would just give it to any 11 or
Yeah.
12-year-old.
Like this book is so sad. It's so morbid. And what I like about this book is that we appreciate Ballad in the original trilogy for the references. It would be a much different experience if this is the first book that you read in the entire saga.
Yeah, I've been thinking recently, scrolling TikTok a little bit too, and I've seen like a reading order video for the Hunger Games series, and the thought that some people might pick up Ballad first and then
Mm-mm.
do Sunrise and then the trilogy. Like, I feel like that's going to be kind of a question out there. Like, I don't think that makes sense at all.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. The effect just isn't the same. But I like that it's so similar to The Hunger Games, the first book. It's literally following the exact same pacing, which I like. And it's very similar to what happens in the plot of the original. I think we're gonna steer away from that in part three. I think the games won't last nearly as long, but I still think it's interesting to compare the two. I'll be intrigued to pick up the original trilogy after this.
Yeah, I need to pick up the first book and see where like the parts were and like what the beats were, because it is reading a lot like the first Hunger Games book. I'm worried that we're going to not have much of an ending
Mhm.
post games.
I feel like the pacing of the games is really going pretty quickly.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
because Haymitch keeps meeting up with people and then they keep dying.
yes, very true. But I think something that will be interesting in part three, and something we can talk about now, is Lenore Dove and Plutarch. I think that section was very interesting, how Plutarch is trying to get Haymitch to trust him, because that was a theory that we had, was that Plutarch was
Hmm.
the one telling Haymitch, hey, this arena, there's a reason Haymitch was bent on making it to the edge of the arena, as she mentions in Catching Fire. So that scene where Plutarch lets Haymitch talk to Lenore Dove from the jail, very interesting and I'm very intrigued to see Maisley's ties and Lenore's ties, because I think Gabby's theory of like an underground District 12 rebellion is really existing and coming into play. So
Yeah,
I'm so
which I'm
excited.
so surprised by, but I'm not upset about it. Way more working behind the scenes than we anticipated throughout the whole series.
Would you trust Plutarch if you were Haymitch? How are you feeling? Because it's first person, so how are you feeling with their interactions so far?
No, I don't think I trust him at all. Haymitch is so trusting. Like he
Mhm.
wants to believe in goodness, I think, and he wants to trust Plutarch. I mean, he doesn't have anything else really. He's definitely more trusting than me. He's more trusting, more caring. Like he
Yeah,
wants to
no.
help others. Like he can't even see anything happening in the arena. He's like, don't look, because he knows he'll fight for others.
Haymitch is a lot different than I expected him to be.
So different. It's like the persona that we were seeing in the book. He actually mentions during the interviews, he's kind of channeling Woodbine Chance, the character who's really like the rascal troublemaker character that should have been reaped, but that's not really who he is.
I was skeptical about the name of part two when I started part two,
The
but
rascal?
yeah, but I get it. I like it. It's not as impactful as the birthday. Like that really just
Yeah.
stabbed me in the heart, but came to appreciate it more by the end of part two. I guess back to Plutarch, I like the line about Plutarch's rising sun. Like, I think that goes along
Mm,
with Sunrise on the Reaping. One of the quotes that I really pulled from part two was Plutarch saying, "You should know that despite appearances, a desire for freedom is not limited to the districts." And
yeah,
that line has really stuck with me. It's just Haymitch is the right person, maybe the wrong person at the wrong time to lead this rebellion. It's just really hard to hear that there was change wanting to be made, but you know that this goes on and
for
on for
so
another
long.
25 years. Yeah.
It's interesting, Plutarch actually brings up implicit submission
Hmm.
also and says to Haymitch, like, the time for that for you is over.
Yeah.
Suzanne's being a little bit heavy-handed, I feel like, which I don't know how I feel about. Like, I don't know that it's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, but she's being very direct
She is.
with what she wants to say in, like, why do we submit to the government? And also, like, what does it take for us to take action in situations? And why do we act or not?
Because this all happens because of Haymitch acting on Lenore, the reaping. Like it just comes back to he was just acting because he loved her and he cared about her. But I think something else that was really interesting was we got our first religious reference.
I noted that too. I thought it was so
Yeah.
interesting that after all this time, Suzanne doesn't really ever mention anything about religion or the afterlife, but in this book she does because Haymitch and Lenore Dove talk about seeing each other again and seeing people again after they pass away.
Yeah, and they directly mention heaven. I think it's like the perfect amount of hope and faith put into a text, but it's also keeping religion still very distant in this idea of religion very distant in Panem. But I was really shocked to see that because in none of the books are there any references. Like that's something that we always mention is the lack of religion in
Hmm.
the text.
I think it makes sense to come from Lenore Dove, like to come from the Covey,
Hmm.
because they're kind of other. They've seen other people, other places, and retained some of that religious knowledge.
Like it's just very beautiful to have in there because everything about death, and there's so much death in the Hunger Games, is so grim and there's no hope. And I mean, it all comes down to personal belief and everything, but it's just so interesting to see this aspect of religion and this aspect of the afterlife and what comes next in the text because Haymitch is very depressed and clearly
Yeah.
we have a lot happening. We know the ending, unfortunately, and it's not happy.
I think it makes sense in their conversation too, because I don't think there are a lot of other conversations in this series where characters are talking about death and
Hmm.
dying. It more just happens. And I think it's hard to have a conversation about those things without bringing up a potential like afterlife or what comes next or like how will we see each other again. So it did feel natural to me, even though I noted it as like, wow,
Oh,
that's something we haven't read before.
I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry because I'm thinking of like the all fire, like I love you like all fire. Like that hits me and that line just crushes me. One of my favorite parts, let me see. Haymitch says, "We will be together always. I don't know how and I don't know where. I don't know anything, but I feel that in my heart. You and me, we will find each other as many times as it takes."
You know what hit me about that line? That was released early, and
Mhm.
we all thought that there's no way that that was going to be a Haymitch line. We were attributing it to Lenore Dove or like maybe Maisley. It wasn't going to be Haymitch.
Yeah.
And then Haymitch is so different than we anticipated, and you get to that line, and it's like, well, of course Haymitch said that. Yeah, just that makes sense. He's a lover boy.
He is a lover boy. This is gonna hurt. This is gonna frickin' hurt. Part three is gonna. I'm not looking forward to this.
I know.
Oh, I don't want it to be done either. Like, we're recording this episode tomorrow, and I'm so ready to be done with it because I am sick of avoiding spoilers. But we're gonna be done with it, Emily. I can't believe this. Oh.
I know it's so sad, but it's been so enjoyable also in
Mhm.
a weird way to be back in the Hunger Games and like getting to read a Hunger Games book again for the first time. It's been great. And we're getting
So
so much
crazy.
lore. There's
The
there's
lore.
sad stuff, but there's so much lore, even in part two.
Do you have any predictions for part three?
I think I have some predictions about the end. I think after that conversation with Lenore Dove and Haymitch, I think because they agreed to meet in the meadow, so I think Haymitch is gonna go to the meadow, and I think the gumdrops are gonna be there. I think she's gonna leave them there for him.
Thanks. I'm just gonna go cry now. Just gonna go cry now.
Is
Oh,
they're her favorite. He got them for her, and then they agreed to meet there, and I don't think she's gonna be there. But like her spirit is gonna be there. Like the geese are gonna be there, or the gumdrops are gonna be there in the meadow. Also, I feel the epilogue. I know in the bingo card predictions episode, I said that maybe it starts with Happy Birthday, the book, and then ends very depressing with Happy Birthday, the first sunrise where he is a mentor on the reaping. But now I'm thinking maybe we need some hope. And so I think that the epilogue might end where he sees his first birthday and sunrise without reaping, like
oh,
Lenore Dove tells him about.
Emily, Emily, I can't think of a better ending. Like I can't, and I'm really hoping that'll be the end because that will destroy me.
Yeah,
I think I will be destroyed if we see Haymitch post Mockingjay. That will destroy me.
I know.
Oh, I
I know.
can't. We have one more part to read, Emily. Oh my God. I can't.
I can't wait to read it.
I can't wait to read it, but I also am like, are we going to get another book?
I don't think so, but I've been skeptical about that from the beginning.
Yeah,
So I think the answer is no. But we also still have questions, and I don't know that they're going to be answered in this book. We didn't see Tigress at all.
yeah,
We haven't seen her. I feel like we haven't seen as much of Plutarch as I wanted to see. Maybe there's
agreed.
some at the end. I think we're just always going to have questions. Not everything is going to tie together perfectly. And I don't think that that's Suzanne's intention either. She wanted to write a book about David Hume and implicit submission and these concepts. And I think she's less interested in like connecting the plot, all perfectly for us. Like I don't
Yeah.
think that's what it's about for her.
I'm really looking forward in part three to uncover more about Maisley because I think there are so many questions that I have that she has to answer in this book about her. There's something going on there. How does she know how to do like all these snares right off the bat? Like, I don't know. There's something fishy going on here.
So you're theorizing that we'll see more of the underground in District 12. And I think you're right because Maisley was talking to Haymitch and she said that Lenore Dove has a secret.
Oh, yes.
So
True.
something with like the orange paint. I couldn't figure it out. I don't know what's going on, but there's definitely something that she is a part of that she's not telling Haymitch. She's not just doing things on her own, I don't think.
No. And there's a reason. There's got to be like a deeper reason for the beef between Lenore and Maisley. Like,
Yeah, there's some big secret that I mean, Maisley isn't telling anyone. She just isn't even telling Haymitch, who's
Mhm.
probably going to not survive. I just like Maisley a lot.
I love her. I think she's such a badass character. I love her. I'm excited to get answers for that. I don't know if we'll get an answer about which Baird Lenore Dove is.
We need to talk about that because I think we said in the first episode that it had to be Lucy Gray, but there are three Baird cousins. All three of them are cousins, and they're all Bairds. So
Mhm.
she could be related to Maud Ivory or Lucy Gray or Barbazur.
I was really looking forward to seeing like the connection between Chaff and Cedar and Haymitch. Like I know that sounds like weird and they're like minor characters. Like I'm still kind of relying on that just because I think I was really shocked by Mags, BT, and Wyrus. I was really shocked that those were the three that had connections to Haymitch.
Hmm.
I'm intrigued to see if there's Tigress.
I think it makes sense to me now because in Catching Fire, I think that Haymitch is actually friends with Chaff,
Mhm.
whereas he probably distances himself a little bit from the characters who are around during his games, like
Yeah.
Mags and Beatty. He doesn't actually seem, he knows them, but he doesn't seem as close with them later
Mhm.
on. So I think it makes sense that after all of this, he might form a connection with Chaff, who is not related to his games.
Just his reactions are so different in the original trilogy. He just shuts down and doesn't mention any of this to Katniss.
Do you have any like predictions for part three?
I think part three, I think we're going to spend a lot more time in District 12, and I think we're going to learn more of the lore in District 12. I think that'll take up like the last 100 pages or so. I really think she's going to wrap up the games because the pacing of the game seems a little bit quicker than the original Hunger Games. And I think we're going to learn a lot more about this underground in District 12. That's what my prediction is. I just, I think we're going to see the victory tour.
That's a lot to cover, though.
I know. That's just me being hopeful. I'm manifesting right now more so than
I
anything.
mean, yeah, I'd love that. We'll see. We'll see.
I don't really know where the book is going because chapter 1 threw me off anyway. So,
Yeah, there have been a lot of surprises, so I'm expecting more for sure.
which I'm intrigued to hear what everyone's favorite part will be once we get to part 3, like how we rank them initially. I mean, obviously over time that can change, but I think it'll be really fun to hear which our favorite part was and why and reflect back on
Hmm.
the entire book. So, yeah.
I'm just excited to go read part three. Nervous
I
and
know I've been
excited.
holding you back. I'm sorry. I am so ready to read part 3. Part 3 is the poster. Join us next week as we discuss part 3, the poster of Sunrise on the Reaping. And if you want to talk more about specific chapters, come join us for Mockingjay Mondays on Instagram. And we'll see you next time. Finish the book.
See ya.